Hi everybody, this is Chris Manley with Graphco, and I'd like to take a few minutes to show us what we've been doing at the ISA show here in Las Vegas, Nevada. So by the way, it's day 3 and it's almost 4 o'clock, which is the close of show. So far we've done probably 400 and some unique booth scans and literally dozens and dozens of demos. My colleague Mauro is now going to start the demo that we've been doing. So we're underway. Thank you very much. So behind me, what you see is our SD Augusta F150R Pro. This machine is a 15-foot table. It's equipped with an electrospindle, knife cutting in the AFT unit, and the star of the show this year has been our automatic stud welding, which we're going to show you in a couple of minutes. Now, Michael's just going to follow me into the booth area here, but throughout the entire show, roughly every 20 minutes, we've been processing a complex sign that is 4 components. First of all, we're cutting aluminum and then welding studs around that aluminum. Then we're cutting out an acrylic push-through plate that is made from a unique substrate that is produced by Plaskolite, our very strong partner on materials. It's what they call fuse. So what you'll see in a couple of minutes is it's actually a 2-part, 2-tone material. And then the last step is that we're then routing out the coffin that this all fits into. So the sign that we're making is basically this Graphco sign in various different renditions. We did backlighting for this one to kind of show it off, but I'm just going to ask Michael to kind of focus in on the routing here. So the machine that you see working here is our 9-kilowatt router. So this is operating at up to 36,000 RPM. And the cutting that we're doing right here is at about 250 to 300 inches per minute of feed rate. And we're doing this all, taking away all the material in one pass. We are going to come back and do a little bit of a polish on the edge, and then we're going to cut that all the way through. Now, the other features that the machine offers allow us to do things like the 3-dimensional products that you see to the far right, which I'll show in a little bit more detail as well. Now, the AFT unit, which is our knife cutting device, can actually cut materials up to 12 millimeters thick in products like Centra and other expanded PVCs. So that has been very well received by the sign, the permanent sign people that have been here, because they do lots and lots of small letters using that material. It's very affordable and it's very printable. But one challenge that you have when you machine that is that the router bit itself can sometimes cause the letters to fling around and to cause some challenges. By cutting it with a knife, we don't have to worry about that anywhere nearly as much. The other advantage to that knife is that when you're doing your yard signs and other kind of work, we're actually running those at sometimes speeds up to 5.5 feet per second, which is roughly 3,400 inches per minute. Quite fast. So I'm going to step around Michael here for just a second and show you a couple of our finished products. So for example, we did a very nice RMGT logo. We've got SD's logo. We did quite a nice 3-dimensional, which by the way, we ran very quickly. Probably took about 6-8 minutes to process this whole job with a lot of relief. So now, one of the things that has also been, I think, very well received and I think understood by a lot of folks here that have had experiences with other routing machines that aren't built at this level. The 15-foot table that you see in front of you weighs well over 11,000 pounds. It has a completely solid monochrome base, which is part of why we're able to do the kind of jobs at the speeds that we do. So we're going to be doing the machining of this aluminum at about 100 inches per minute. In production environment, a lot of our customers are doing more like 120, 140, but they don't care so much about how smooth the edge is. Obviously at a trade show, we want to show very, very smooth edges. So we want to slow that down a little bit, but still 100 inches a minute is very, very fast. And I think when you see the finish, you'll also agree that it's basically impeccable. The second thing that I would really point out is how quiet and how smoothly this machining is happening of 0.125 or 1/8 inch aluminum. The reason that we feel that that is a great indicator is three things. First of all, we use a unique lubrication system where we're basically misting a combination of glycol and methanol down onto the exact machining surface. The methanol, when it evaporates, cools both the bit and the product, so obviously heat buildup and heat load is half of your problem in these kind of situations. The next thing that we're observing here is that because we're using a hyper-balanced spindle that uses a viscous coupling, we spin perfectly roundly. So you're not hearing all of that sort of extraneous chatter that you hear on some other machines. Now, here's the star of the show, our automatic stud welding. So, not only is the stud welder going to weld these studs into the exact right position every single time, but it does it with effectively zero labor. Obviously, the guy did have to load the plate in the machine, but everything else is being done by CNC. People that still do their stud welding manually have to pick up that same plate, cart it over to some other department, pay someone to do that very like labor-intensive and kind of dirty and smelly process. In this case, we placed 8 studs in about 25 seconds, and now we go back through and do the rest of the machining. The reason we're doing the machining in 2 steps during the show is just to make sure that we don't have any loose pieces flying around to possibly hurt somebody or frankly just be a little scary. Our customers that have these machines in the field, they just cut straight through. They would bypass this second step, but in that kind of environment, they don't really care that they've got pieces maybe flinging around a little bit that aren't really part of the job. We just wanted to be a little bit more kind of user-friendly here. So while we finish the machining for this, I want to point out that our revolver over on the right allows us to source up to 12 additional electrospindle collars, along with the 13 that are on the bar that's kind of down below the gantry there. Something that I would also point out is that the 5 tool positions to the left are what we call an ISO 10 cone. That is automatically changeable for our cutting knife. The knife that I mentioned before that cuts Sentra or Gatorboard or any other kind of thinner materials can also be used, frankly, for packaging for boxes. Each of those can be changed automatically, just like the regular CNC type tools. Now, as soon as the gantry moves over, I'm going to step over and we're going to take a look at the stud welder, because again, that has been a very critical part of our presentation. So our next step is to go put back in that tool. Now we're going to grab one from the revolver that we're going to use for the coffin, and you're going to get to see basically about 2/3 of our transit speed. We've slowed down a little bit because when the stud welder operates, the way it's operating is that you put a bag of studs into this can, it vibrates, and it walks the studs up. This is the electronic side, which develops the electrical requirement to create that weld. This is the hopper. Once those studs are up in the magazine, as needed, they're sent up this hose into the position for the next stud. So I'm going to shift back here a little bit and show you one of our finished products. So please note that, first of all, every stud is perfectly affixed, perfectly square, perfectly straight. And if you notice, we're within 1/4 of an inch of the outside edges. In fact, here on both sides. That allows our customers to have complete flexibility. That we feel is obviously a very, very important part of our go-to-market on this kind of a product. Another thing that I would point out, and again, this has been very well received, we cut this 1-inch thick acrylic, and then we polished it using a diamond bit. You can buy diamond bits and put them on any kind of a router. What you can't ever be sure of is that your concentricity of spin on that router is going to be at the quality level that we provide. 3 reasons for that. Our Hydeco electrospindle is the finest quality electrospindle in the world, and that's pretty well acknowledged by everybody that's in that industry. It operates using an air bearing, so it basically there's no touch of that spindle as it's turning. Secondly, the quality control at Hydeco is done by Balance Systems, which is the parent company of SD. So the people that make the electrospindle use Balance Systems as their partner for manufacturing that product. We end up with an excellent end result. Now the coffin, just to briefly show you, because this is not all that exciting a part of this whole process, but out of that 1-inch piece of expanded PVC, we're taking a little more than a 1/2 inch out very, very quickly, cutting in this shoulder, and then also putting in a position for the studs to place inside. And it all fits together very, very nicely. So I'd like to thank you for taking a few minutes to listen to what I had to say and for getting to see a little bit of what we've done here. But I appreciate very much your time, and if you'd be interested in any of these products, please contact us at graphco.com. Thanks very much.